Alright, section 11, working with wood. Understanding wood types, decide what to buy, working with plywood, manufacture wood, carpentry, wall paneling, working with laminates, working with veneers, measuring, marking, wood joints, lap joints, dado joints, mortise and tenon joints, dovetail and L joints, dovetail variations, right angle joints, X and cross side joints, butt joints, length joints, three-way joints, how to use molding, accurate vertical and horizontal, basic structures, draw, construction, interior construction, finish wood, finishing, final finishes, special finishes, antique, achieving surface effects. Alright, understanding wood. The origins of wood. Lumber is composed of approximately 60% cellulose, 28% lignin, and the substance to make up the wood, fibrous cell walls of plants and some trees, cements materials between them. Remaining 12% consists of elements given the species individual qualities like with a rich color of mahogany used in cabinet work, the unmistakable aroma of cedar with a blanket chest, rot resistant that makes redwood or so ideal with lawn furniture. The other characteristics of match lumber is specific use and resolve of the way it is solved, a long season. After that, it is up to you, the tools to cut it and shape it and join it and finish it. And objective you want to have in mind. The following page is designed to help you accomplish this. Hardwoods can be broadleaf deciduous trees such as oak, walnut, maple, birch, or mahogany. Wood as the group costs more. Softwoods, in general rule, hardwoods are stronger and longer lasting. Do not be afraid to use hardwoods as long as your tools are sharp. These woods can be cut and turned, joined successfully as softwoods. Decorative effect of the most hardwoods and superior because of the better surface finish property. The quality of hardwood depends on how it is being seasoned, stored, monitored, kindled, drying, air drying satisfactory, but wood should still be given time to adjust the moisture content with the conditions under which it will be used. When lumber is improperly air dried or neglected during storage, water can collect under the stacking boards, causing permanent sticks, marks, and ingrain deep into the boards because the ends of the boards dry out faster than the centers, applying paint and pitch to the ends of the protect them from during air drying. Softwoods or lumber conifers, cone-bearing or evergreen trees such as pine, cedar, fir, hemlock, redwood, spruce, cypress, basswood. Usually solid. Since trees timber has is rough plan finished dimension because shrinkage. Planting lumber is actually smaller than the nominal size which is sold. For example, the mill machine dryer reducing dimension of a piece sold is 1 by 6 inches, approximately 3/4 inch, 5.5 inch. If exact size of the vital order your lumber to the full size, it will be milled for the next larger standard size. Since you are paying for that price, the cost will be somewhat greater. Softwoods vary from the resistance of weather. Common structures, species line like pine, but more protective of the reservative of paints. Others like redwood have natural weather resistant. Proposed have been embedded with the ground order lumber chemically impregnated against rot, insect damage. Softwoods and floors, walls, ceilings need protection against dirt, but they are finishes made specifically for this purpose. Many softwoods have hard brown pocket knots that give a sticky liquid. These should be cleaned with turpentine, then shellac. Loose knots, white glued first, then shackled before finishing. Softwoods are susceptible to and very rough split ends. Allow by ordering 5 to 10% more boards than needed. Shrinkage and warping. All lumber first cut contains considerable moisture. Most of it is removed with the seasoning process of the wood shipped to the dealer. As the lumber dries out, it shrinks and tends to warp. Gridded shrinkage takes place in circumferences. Annual rings. Length line along the grain shrinks about 1/8 in 12 feet. When lining series of board edges to edge, the boards at the end of the grains alternate change direction. Annual rings from the board to board. Technique most likely to balance the stress movement of the work will stay flat. Solid lumber behaves in a different way from hardwood, chipboard, and other composition boards. You should not, for instance, join a drawer made of hardwood to a drawer with solid wood. It will be exposed to high humidity. Joint distortion, spilling may result. There's no harm, however, in fixing plywood bottom of the drawer made of solid lumber, since the almost no change in the taking place in length of the sides or in the plywood, nor would the problem be in joining a solid long grain piece of molding. One of the non-moving types of the board plywood here to change length is negligible. If you're uncertain on how to cope with the problem of solid lumber movement, to take a look at some of the pieces of the old furniture, see how they put together. These also apply with the joint details of the designing furniture. Methods of correcting alternating warping during air drying have limited success, but they are worthy trying. Stacking lumber with one layer with one direction, the next right angles in the common practice. The alternate stacking is also a good way to store lumber if you buy it in quantity. Straightening a bent board. First wet thoroughly, resist boards and bricks and place a heavier weight in the center. After a few days, pressure from the weight will force the board flatten out. Warping of the two boards corrected with the placing together, convex sides outside. Clamping the centers together, placing scrap softwood between the jaws and board, preventing denting, resting the wood thoroughly before clamping with a hasty straightening process. Wood grades, there are two basic classifications. One, select lumber, excellent quality use when appearance and finishing is important. Two, common lumber have defects under construction and general purpose projects. Grades of select lumber are B and better. B and better grade are 1 and 2, clear, devoid any but minute blemishes. C, select grade have minor defects and such as small knots. D, select grade have large imperfections which can be concealed with paint. The corresponding selecting grades: Idaho White Plain, designated supreme choice and quality of the grade. Common lumber, known as number 1 grade, contains right and tight knots, a few blemishes, suitable natural knotty finishing for paint or paint. Number 2 grade has more larger knots, blemishes, used for the flooring and paneling, is suitable for the knotting and finishing or paint. Number 3 grades have loose knots, knot holes, other pronounced flaws, using shoveling, sheeting, and fencing, non-visible purposes. Number 4 grade, low quality, using sheathing, subflooring, creating in concrete forms. Number 5 grade, lowest board grade for limited use of strength and appearance, not essential to the finished result. Corresponding grades of Idaho White Plain and or Colonial, Sterling, Standard, Utility, and Industrial. How plywood is made. Plywood is made with the odd number of sheets of the wood veneers face to face with grains running in an alternate direction. Lumber core plywood has solid center ply with the crisscross veneers glued both surfaces. Use the old numbers veneers stabilize plywood. In this way, the two veneers are bonded together. Tensions created between the glue lines inherently with the opposite of the grain of the direction used cause the warping. The two veneers are each bond in the opposite side of the middle panel equalize tension. New veneers are added to the pairs at each side of the building up as many as required. Whatever the thickness of the total, always the odd number of plywood can still because no two veneers are completely identical, the tension is never the perfect balance. Any factor that causes warping is wetting or heating of the one face of the plywood. This will cause the veneer to expand, contract, may pull the board out of true plywood. A specific purpose of the factory process, the cording of, for example, plywood, concrete forms available the oil surface, where appearances matters, one or both as may be are sanded. Most widely used plywoods are softwood types made from fine fir, pine, and spruce, graded according with the quality of the outer pliers. How a plier applies. Hardwood types include all hardwood veneers, combination type softwood, interiors hardwood, exteriors hardwood, plywoods, oak, walt, mahogany, etc. are generally used with appearance of the factories of construction furniture. So show the faces and the core and the crossbands. Plywood grades. Most plywood grades made today are graded at American Plywood Association. Look for the rubber stamp for the back of along the edges of the letter with a DFPA, which stand for the Department of Product Approval. Large capital letters grade stamped and indicate the quality of the face. And for natural finish grade 3 of the defects. A for smooth and paintable. Use allowable less exact natural finishing. B allows circular repair plugs and tight knots. C allows knot holes and splitted limited size. D permits similar flaws somewhat larger. Group members indicate specified species grade relative strength ranging from Group 1 strongest down to Group 5. Group 1 includes, for example, the plywood made of birch, western, large, sugar maple, lollyball pine, long and short leaf pine, and Douglas from Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, British Columbia, Alberta. Group 2 plywood is made with a cedar of the western, hemlock, black maple, red pine, salvia, spruce, Douglas, fir from Nevada, Idaho, Utah, New Mexico. Group 3 compromise plywood from Alaska, cedar, red alder, jack pine, lodgepole, ponderosa pine, red, white, black spruce woods, and Group 4 aspen, paper birch, western red cedar, eastern hemlock, sugar pine, Engelmann spruce. Plywoods in the 5th grade are made of balsam fir and are polyper. The term exterior determines the plywood means the waterproof glue between the plies. Interior means moisture-resistant glue not suited for the outdoor marine use. If there is any two additional numbers, such as 48 over 24, first indicates the maximum spacing between rafters, roof decking, second between the joists and subflooring. The second number is 0, 24 over 0. The plywood is not suitable for subflooring. Choosing and using plywood. Plywood is generally 4x8 sheets, thickness ranging from 1/4 inch to 3/4 of an inch. However, the larger lumber yards frequently stock and can order for you to non-standard size thickness of the corners. Plywood sheets often chipped with a splinter, and so always make an allowance for such waste when measuring. Ordering Douglas fir plywood, use the most expensive plywood and less expensive the cut of the grain darkens and exposed the plywood and by suitable to work with the appearance of the knot factor, while the ultimate covers some of the other material. For example, the concrete forms backs of the furniture, temperature, structure, sheet, shelving works a similar nature. Plywood and mortise, dovetail, miter, otherwise worked in the same way as the solid wood, provided it's thick enough to avoid use plywood draw or sides. Its height has tendency to cut runners rather than slide them. Sawing. A fine tooth saw should be used when cutting plywood. Such cutting line of a knife when cutting across the grain score both sides of the sheet in order to prevent splintering. If you're cutting a plywood with a circular saw with a radial arm saw, always have the good side facing up. However, when cutting the portable saw, when the soft plywood is attached to the screw, the dangerous screw heads may sink into the wood, far into the wood, and the screws cups to reduce risk for the job's permit. Gluing. Roughing surfaces with the glue, something grip that even the coarse sandpaper applies much even pressure as possible with the clamps and weights while the glue is setting. For marine and outside work, use of waterproof adhesive joining. Plywood is more than 1/4 inch thick if the joining with the same ordinary wood joint edge for both the two loose spine method, page 395, but do not bend with the sheets after joining. Preparing a small piece of veneer, lift up during the wood glue and clamp, then place it again using a wood block and paper clamp. Protection. Whenever possible, use plywood so the edges are supported. Protecting edges molding, there is the possibility of damage. Alternatively, remove all sharp edges with a small chamfer. Bending. The thinner the sheet, the more it will bend. Birch plywood is one of the best for the bending. For fairly simple yet even curve should hold the shape of the bend with the two or more sheets. Glue them together. Use temporary jig. Slightly dampen what will outer cover each of the sheet will happen to bend, but do not glue the sheet together while they are still wet. Let them dry thoroughly overnight. Should be ample for the new shape. Plywood will bend or a tighter curve of the grain is running across the curve when it's running with it. And for further instructions, see drawing below. Types and use of hardwood. Versatile material made of the softwood pulp, forced in sheets up under heat with the pressure available. The variety of forms. Hardwood is tempered, untempered, or tempered kind, having been treated with the oils and resins which make the harder and more moisture-resistant darker color than the untempered kind. Hardboard is made smooth one side, S1S, smooth on two sides, S2S. It can be brought in a variety of the perforated pattern, best known with a pegboard. Hardwood handles usually 4 feet wide, come in the standard length 8, 10, and 12 feet. Various thickness available to 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 inch being most common. Like plywood, hardboard is sold with a square foot. Some dealers will cut size beneath using a panel sideboard to ensure accurate and square cut. For numbers of long cuts, large panels allow the thickness of saw blade uncut the factory sheet. True square corner for easy modular construction. Working with hardboard. Storage panels flat, taking care of the protection corners, the edge of the damage. Standard woodworking tools can be either the cutting shape or the cleaning up of the edges after the damaging surface. Once if the smooth at the top of the crust is broken, sandpaper will not restore original smoothness. Cutting using a fine tooth saw will always cut on the face side on the repainted plaster covered board. Score cutting line with a knife before sawing. Minimize shipping to prevent tear away. Support both ends of the sheet, the under and side. Battens clamped under the cutting line prevent the self and varying shut line or the saw jumped out and damage the surface. Gluing. All woodwork adhesives working with tempered hardwood. Gluing the face of the board rough than the surface of the sandpaper to give the adhesive texture needed for the good grip. Fitting. Allow drive screws through the hardboard not into it when nailing using special hardwood nails. They have small heads barely visible after they have driven into the hardboard. House framing, composition sheathing. These panels are generally will come from a half-inch thick and are made of four sizes: 4x8, 4x9, 4x10, and 4x12 feet. Composition sheathing has many of the building of the housing insulation being a significant one. Joist parallel beams are horizontal from the wall to hold the structure, support floor and the ceiling loads. Roof rafters series of sloping parallel beams which are given the support of the roof side of the rafters required with a different span is generally specified by the local building codes. Studs, usually 2x4s, used vertical in the building framework with a various wall with a partition, lath, wall, board, and sheathing attached. Furring material or a strip of wood that is attached to the walls or ceilings that can be used the base of the panel with the tile for the other comparable to finish. In material subflooring, the first trim roof floor over the building if the nail of the floor joist acts as a support with the finishing floor with a nail directly onto it. Construction plywood. Plywood, given an intensity where the parents doesn't count, are using sheathing, subflooring, roof decking, and are usually unsanded and unused grade of the industry. Insulation board, material made of plant fibers, wood pulp in the form of light shift panels suitable for the wall and partitions of a similar application. Building paper, inexpensive heavy paper, so that is draft steel with the construction walls also sandwiched between the first and subfloor of the building finished floor. Clapboard, type of siding made up of the boards, 1 inch thick, thinner. Clapboard siding is nailed with overlapping fashion to form outside covering of the house. Gypsum board, wallboard panel composed of core gypsum, outside surface durable, tough and durable. Can be bought in 4-foot wide panels, lengths of 6 to 12 feet. Paneling easily nailed with both joists, and so it's inexpensive, fireproof. It takes paint and wallpaper. Seams must be taped over the boards. Are available with a paper finish made of reseam, various wood patterns, which eliminates the need for further finishing. Alright, planning the work. Wall paneling. You may experience the difficult paneling room, choosing among the many finishes, styles, effects that are available to you. Found, for example, some of the 51 more wood grains veneered, lithographed, printed on wall panels. All of the vast amounts done are extremely that it takes trained eye to tell them for the real wood. Philippine mahogany, knotty pine, cherry oak, and walnut are some of the possibilities. Some of these staying deep in the red, blue, or exotic green. If you would like something other than wood effects, panel with a resemble delicately veined marble or rough hewn stone. Others wall size murals, reproduction, old engraving. See decorating section, page 350 for more panel possibilities. Once you've made your choice, you next move to the estimate how much panel you will need. Details how to arrive at the estimate given elsewhere on this page. How the panel is delivered to home several before plan tests and all of them. Please put them in the room in the panel so that they are exposed to the room normal humidity. You will have the chance to adjust it. When stacking the panels, be sure to separate them, inserting the sticks between the layers to permit air circulate. An idea limitations just don't appeal to you. Get the paneling of the wood all through for the solid wood paneling available for an attractive range of hardwood. Softwoods can also be bought tinted, directing preference leaning toward color. Any of the available form paneling is easy to install to maintain interest effects of the obtained installed panels horizontally, vertical in combination. Vertical paneling is random widths will also be striking. Panel materials are made with stimulated board batten joints, others constructed tongue and groove joints. In your room, incline with a damp, and then you are paneling in the masonry coats of the walls before you begin waterproofing material. Alright, trims and molding. Many markers pre-finish panel marking coordinated with the hardwood molding. Trims makes massive panel finish with the contour accessory product with the home of the craftsman, handle with the intricate finishing with the necessary with the aft round doors and corners complete with the confident end result with another molding now available to simplify insulation panels made of aluminum with an unfinished face veneer matching hardwood bonded with the metal base of the model. Molding strips are attached to stud furring the panel side and slide into the place along the molding tip. Working with laminates. Laminate use. Plastic laminates made with these layers of the resin impregnated paper bound with a high temperature pressure with rigid sheets. Decorative laminates home with a sold standard size sheet measuring 2 by 5 feet up, 5 by 12 feet. Thickness generally 1/16 of an inch. Durability with a horizontal surface of 1/32 of an inch. Use vertical surface. The range for the decorative effects include with the Plain color patterns, wood grains or abstract designs, and a choice of most inserting matte or gloss finish. Laminates can be used on most flat, dry surface with clipboard, plywood, make ideal bases. Take painted varnish surfaces down bare wood before cementing laminates. Position boards covered with laminate should be backed with an inexpensive backing laminate to prevent absorption. Moisture might warp the board and advise the back off the laminate covered surface, but it's not necessarily with the back board is firm. Attached to frames such as the top of the counter, the best adhesive of the normal household are common cements, page 86. Laminates can be damaged to extreme heat, but never place the dishes and pans straight in the oven on a laminate, as they can scorch or blister. Some of the chemicals such as hydrogen peroxide, certain cleansers and bleaches contain chlorine, may stain the surface. The best replace to wipe off the spillage and immediately, regardless with chemical content. Veneer type. There are thin slices of wood cut with run log segments of the flitches. These primary advantage of woodwork ability with a detached face of the most ordinary and expensive of the wood. The two basic veneer types are construction veneers, which are often thicker, used in some of the plywood factory type produced to laminate its shapes, and face veneers using 1/28 of an inch thick, intended for the decorative application. Various methods employed with the veneers: sawing, slicing, rotary cutting, mounted on a lathe knife with a peel with a continuous ribbon veneer. Sliced veneer is crosswise but operating like a great plane. Veneer shaping is produced by the slicing process. In each case, the grain of the veneer varies, producing distinctive effects and patterns. A single sheet of veneer is called a leaf, or several areas and several are called parasol. Veneer is presided with a square foot with the most sharper bends as possible with the plywood lumber they made with the gluing the veneers together. Other form produced laminated shape. The grain of the layer is laid parallel and not crisscross as it is plywood for decorative cabinet veneering. Wide variety of real made inlays include fractional embols, checkboard faces, and available cabinet making supply houses. Applying veneer. For general veneer working, you need a veneer hammer or roller, marking knife, straight edge, toothing panel, scratching wood for a good bounding surface, coarse abrasive paper block, gum, paper glue brush. Cutting veneers. The large enough surface to cover the 1/2 inch over all the edge. Moisten veneers. If they are wavy on both sides, stack them flat between the boards. After several hours, they will be pliable and ready for use of water mix type glue. For contact cement, they must be completely dry. Brush, then coat glue the surface to the veneer. Let it glue dry. Arrange sheets that will be laid. Place the surface of the veneer flat. Spread on the glue width of the first sheet will be attached. Spread the glue underside of the first sheet. Remove it into position. Overlapping edge. 1/2 inch rubber sheet with the veneer hammer. Roll until firmly bonded. Use the hammer and the roller. Work to the bubbles to the nearest edge. Each new sheet should overlap with the previous one about 1/3 of an inch. With a trimming knife, using a trimming knife with a straight edge, cut the center line of each overlap through both of the layers of the veneer. Remove the waste. Close the joint by rubbing hard veneer hammer roller, pressing the herringbone pattern from both sides toward the joint until the meeting edges are flat. If veneer glue is used, veneer work should have the veneer press and glue sets. You can make such a press with a stock lumber and special clamps of contact cement type adhesive procedure. Same with plastic laminate. No clamping arrangement is required. Some basic definitions about all woodworking procedures require something knowledgeable. Simple mathematics tools can probably be set correctly. Measures made for the work at hand. Following are the few basic necessary: calculating various sizes, shapes, and indispensable working vocabulary of those of a handyman. Circumference, distance around the corner length is determined by pi. Distance across the circular with the center equal length of the circumference of 3.183. Radius, a straight line from the center of the circle point of the circumference of the surface. Arc, a part of the curved line, especially of the circle. Wood joints. What joint for the job? This section deals with the variation of basic joints. Simplest way with the more difficult T-joints. Example, the sharp with a basic nail joint. Finished mortise, tension, dovetail joints. Joints can be divided in 6 groups: T-joints, L-joints, X-joints, edge joints, lengthwise, lengthening joints, and 3-way joints. Nailed T-joints. Simple nail joints, satisfactory, lightly framed with the sides meet with the compromise square with the both ends cut across pieces are squared and side pieces are smooth. Otherwise, the joint cannot form to the true right angle. Using 3 nails, hammer with the bend one over the first hole of the wood firm, the drive of the other 2 on the other side over the smoothing, sloping the inward edge of 2 to 30 degrees to the nail. The dovetail toe nailing inside of the frame required for the hammer both sides, alternately relying on work of the nail points by bit into the side piece, drive the nails in the line grain, but stagger them to avoid splitting. Using braces or set the nail heads below the surface of the wood. Extra tightness, fill holes, filler, putty. Use finishing nails, trim, exposed work, and common nails. Structural framing. The nail length should be at least 3 times the thickness of the wood through which it is driven. Using brace fasteners. Metal bracing. Metal plates helpful making in T-joints. The 4 place types are: 1 known inside corner bracket strip, the drilled metal bent in a simple L shape, the fitting of a little corner. Another T-plate, flat T-shape, screw flat onto the work, and flat corner plate is similar to the L shape of the corner used. The mending plate is a straight line plate reinforcement. Whenever appearance of the thickness of the brace does not appear, the light framing, which needs a little more strength than nail joints would provide, also repairs obviously stronger brace than stronger the joint. Built in some application, the brace will bend unless one each side of the joint. The screw should fit with a drilled hole snugly with the drill pilot holes wood to prevent splitting of the drive of the screws home flush with the top. A far quicker way to make T-joints while they're high strength isn't required. Corrugated metal fasteners hammer straight into the work. Fasteners are straightened in one edge. And the best of the light indoor work, such as screen frames and box making. Make sure that the joint is as tight as possible before you drive fasteners home. Position fasteners well within the edge of the crosspiece. Prevent splits. Tap gently until are gone evenly with a hammer, then along the top of the R flush with the surface. Overlap T-joints for the general purpose of the screw for the noose and bolts for the trunks. Result should be glued to make the trunk a screwed overlap T-joint. A joint clamp both pieces wood together with a C-clamp. Drill a clearance hole through the top of the piece of the pilot hole. Lower piece with a bit small enough for the screw head bright firm counter. Sunk holes in 2 pieces of the coat. Inner surface with the glue in face. And fit pieces together with the drive screw home. Simply glue screwed. T-joint combined with supporting block procedure study shelved using glue screw blocks on each side of the casing, and then glue screwed and shoveling blocks. Full and half lap joints use the strong, neat joints fitting the cross rail with the flesh in the frame, and the full lap joint, the raised and the cut with the accomplished for the whole cross rail with the make of the mark with the exact shape of the cutout with the both of the face of the side of the rail across the top edge. Cut out with the waist gradually, each side of the back saw chisel until the base of the cutout is level to check for the firm. Fit the glue all mating surfaces if complete with the joint, nailing, screwing, half lap joint, cross rail, side rail, both. Cut away to give the flush fit when they are mated. Mark the width of the cross rail across the face of the side rail with the halfway down both edges. On the back of the cross rail, make a shoulder line across the distance to the end of the light greater with the width of the side of the rail. Continue the line halfway across the edges, set with a marking gauge, half the thickness of the wood. Gauge lines face of the both pieces. Saw center of the cross rail. Seemingly gauge line with the waist side. Remove the waist block from the cutting across the shoulder line. Saw the just inside of the lines, marking in side rail cut. Saw extra cut and center mark to the waist. The removal easier. Using a chisel, remove the waist from both sides to complete the cutout. Check for the fit or fixing. Trim have the difficulty assembling the pieces. Sand leading edges together. If the joint is to be glued, use glue sparingly. Or dadu joints. The dadu joint is a classic way of joining ending edge of the one board to the cutting surface of another. There are 2 principles. The plain dado, which is cut out, continues all the way across the joint member, and stop dado, in which for the dado extends only partial the way. Both type of the dovetail cutting one's out-of-side housing matching edge of the cross member of the inward sloping angle paid $3.89. Stop dudo is the type they use for the display for the cabinet work making of the joint. First mark the line with the right angles across the interface of the piece for the dado, how with the across the member against the line, withdraw the lining along the other side with the give the exact width of the dadu. Continue these lines with the both edge of the right, with make the depth of the dadu usually 1/3 of the wood thickness of the face side with the both edges. Cut down carefully with the depth of both sides with the housing with the back saw. Chisel away with the waist for the can edge and straight with the sloping. Gradually reduce the parting and pairing angle until the center is chiseled away, finishing the cut with a hand router. If you do not have a hand router available to take the show the pairing and check it frequently with the trade edge for the depth of the flatness of the dadu can also be on the table. The radial arm solve the the dadu set plate for the blade setting for which the width, the depth of the cut is the easiest way. The stop dadu construction is similar with the regular joint except for the cutout ends with a short distance front edge over the edge of the dadu member, the corner of the insert of the member cut away with an overlap distance. Mark usual for the joint and also mark with the stop end of the other end of the dadu from the edge. Make a small saw, chisel out the piece for the stop end of the near of the correct depth, solve through the depth of the unstopped edge, both sides with the chisel away with the waist and cleaned out with the depth of the router. If both ends are stopped and cut, the dadu and the chisel over the rule or with the router on inserted member, marking the cutout with the depth of the length of the cutaway with the corners overlap, save the way the waist with back saw. Making a basic joint. Strongest T-joints, heavy framing, and the general furniture works. Thickness of the tenon should not be 1/3 of the thickness of the mortise member. To make the joint, make width member of the tenon joint rail of the member of the mortise side of the continuum of lines guide on the ends of the mortise outline. Mark lines with a wedge with a 1/8 of an inch outside existing line. If the joints a wedge of the square should line right around the member of the tenon. Give the tenon length greater than the mortise depth. Select your chisel mortise limited with the width. You may have a rectangular marking gauge resting on the marking center of the mortise. For methods, page 382, cut back the edge line with the outer edge. Can speed with the mortise by boring through each end of the auger bit, chiseling between the holes, sailing down the tenon line faces, and cut it carefully across the shoulder lines. Apply glue and assemble the clamp and hammer is glued and sand off protrusions with this glue. Mortise and tenon joints. Variation of basic joint. Mortise and tenon strength. The furnace construction provides completed pressuring appearance of the shoulder may be cut with reducing width with a tenon of 1/8 to 1/2 inch top of the bottom and the completely high of the ends of the mortise slot. Rabbeted and hunch tenon is a very strong joint. Within frames, doors, furniture can also be either the L joint, nor in corners such for the T joint. Hunch with a sloping edge for the square. Showing the hunch resists twisting, but it does not weaken the style of the full width of the tenon wood. Portions important to make of the mortise for the terms of the 1/3 thickness for the wood. The top wider would be weakened. Make the length of the hunch no more than 1/3 the length of the tenon. If the depth should be more than quarter of the width of the mortise member of the 1/2 inch, whichever the measurement is smaller, one often depth is determined by the groove within the frame. Leave at least 1/2 inch waste of the end of the mortise member will prevent splitting while making the fitting of the joint. Trim with a glue set. Double tenons, where single tenon would be wide and weakening upright with joint with a great resistance twisting with extra wide rails have fitted uprights. Set out and out with the same with a single tension. Stub tension joint serve the most the same purpose of plain mortise and tenon type slotted stops short of the which does not appear on the outside. The depth of the mortise should be 2/3 of the width of the wood. Cut tenon about the 1/2 inch. 1/8 of an inch short of the measurement, kept in from touching the bottom of the mortise. Scribe tenon is the work with which one both and edge have molding such as the window frames. Cutting tenon pieces oversight of the depth of the molding. The chisel cut away with the shoulders. Tenon match the molding of the other member of the trim to fit. Trim mortise and the tenon joint mainly the center rail, lock rail, door frames. The divided tenons are locking the mortise from the other side. Alright, single dovetail. Single dovetail mechanically strung for the furniture rails, having them very white with a constructive first mark out with a cut pin. This is from the flat projection end of the rail board with either back saw with a dovetail 2 with the make the angle of the pin 1/6 and the softwood 1 and 1/8 with the hardwood. Transfer pin shaped for the frame base for the 3 with mark with a pencil or a knife. Saw down on the shoulder with a dovetail cut out with a make an extra cover the center way of the facility. Chiseling the work for and putting joint together dry before gluing to check the fit, then glue and clamp and wipe the excessive glue to produce required sanding later. Sometimes a single dovetail can also be quite verified quickly by the jigsaw habit of adjusting the saw blade vertical position and cut cut and pin. They make the shape of the pin on the second piece of the cut this part of the joint, adjusting the table dip, marking joint angles, cutting the inward of the edge using the chisel, separate waste piece in between the cuts. Small dovetails, multiple types, draw corners, cut rapidly. Router using dovetail attachments available. The router case with many models completely draw cover and dovetail can cut in about 1 minute with both air parts simultaneously with a dovetail shaped bit. Alright, L joints and 6 ways to make a corner. 6 corner joints method is for the right, wooden blocks, square, triangular, cross, triangular ones, one underneath a shrink with a glue joints depend mainly on the glue, the screws of the dowels, reinforce hammer nails, fashions of them strains your dowel screws to avoid splitting. Make sure the dowels and screws don't meet with the metal reinforcements, either screwed with the top or the bottom corner 4 or screwed only with the inside joint. 5 of the first method, stronger triangular plywood gusset, 6 glue blocks at the top of the bottom, glued, grabbed, and trimmed outside the edge of the dry. Alright, thorough dovetail. Thorough dovetail strung is the most decorative of the corner joints, extensively back in the drawer of the general cabinet. Assembly of the wood join, marking the matching pieces, forming the covers, place the end of the true of the square, allowing 1/16 of an inch over waist to set of the marking gauge wood thickness plus 1/32 of an inch. The allowance waist makes each corner mark with the gauge line, all sides edge. Use the dovetail angle 1/6 off woods, 1/8 hardwoods to make the dovetail square with a line across the ends. Cut down with the dovetails back saw. 1. Remove the waste with the coping saw. 2. Trip out while with the chisel. 3. Use the dovetail patterns to mark out with the pin's end of the side piece saw along with the mark lines. 5. Remove the waste from the coping saw. Trim and chisel. Save time making several joints, cutting in all the dovetails. 1 of the dovetail piece clamps together in the vise. Test the joint fit. 6. Do this with the parts of the drive case. Further trimming is needed as well as the glue clamp. Alright, lap double joint, secret deep dovetails. The lap double dovetail is used wherever the dovetail would spoil the appearance of the work. Cut plane with the side with the length of the drawer with the thickness of the lap. Cut and plane from the size of the opening, and it must fit. Set the cutting gauge with the thickness of the front less than 1/8 of an inch of the lap. The gauge line at the end of the front of the inside line B all around the end of the side of the cutting gauge of the same size. And with dovetails, the common dovetail is the same way, butt tails against line A of the front and mark the shape of the pins. Make the depth of the pins inside of the front with some pins 45-degree angle will help with the upright vise. Chip out the waist, keeping with the chisel short in the line so a bulk is removed. The overhang of the pins present with the cutting straight through the corners, easy out of the way as point. Narrow chiseling trim interface of the pins, pairing them with chisel. Finally run a groove with the drawer bottom for the dovetail so that it is covered by the lap. Variation of the joint with a double lap dovetail and secret miter dovetail. Both dub lap and miter dovetail joints cut the pin first. Alright, right angle groove joints. You can similarly draw a conclusion and construction of the projects normally require the dovetail corners, substituting rounded governed groove joints. They are quickly to make strong enough for most jobs. Allow little extra length with the front side over that you can make the rabbet slightly wider than the thickness of the wood in its joints. This allows for the first cleaning up the depth of the rabbet. It should have no more than 3/4 of the thickness of the wood joints. Cut the rabbets with the back saw with the power saw with the dadu attachment, glue to nail with the joint, nail with the brands opposite direction. Use joint fork corners, drawers of the rabbet overlapping side, drawers fronts with the extend beyond the side with the groove of the rabbet. The joint cut the groove within the interface of the drawer front rabbet on the interface of the side. Both groove and the rabbet that can be dovetailed, shaped in extra strength. Alright, bridle and box joints. Bridle and finger box joints are strong, need to be well made with a pleasing effect. Both ideal with such a job, joining legs and choice arms. Bridle joints are cornered where there becomes an open Martese tendon or T-joint, where the more decorative of the plain and half the joint for both types divided in the edge of the working in the third square off the shoulder lines of both pieces of the finger with the cutout lines of the face side. Making the waste wood clearly the X is there for the chill, no mistake. Saw down with the cutout section, skimming over the gauge lines, wasting and remove the most of the waste, cutting across the near bottom with a coping saw. Next screw off the shoulder line with a narrow chisel. Cover the finger corner joint edge wood use tension, and the other joint with the cut out both sides of the save down, saw down with the gauge mark, chisel out with the waste of the both sides. Both joints and strength of the dowel with the extra tightness that won't hurt the dowel holds tightly with the dowel is driven home, forced with the fineness again with the bottom of the out cutout. Box cone finger joint with a machine made as general rule made by hand. Alternate dovetailing light fixturing over the box construction. One piece must contain 2 to 8 and 2 end fingers, so the total number of fingers would be uneven. Score each shoulder with a knife darkened to make the lines clear. Mark off the waist. Check one piece against the other by cutting the joint. In the construction of these joints, follow the examial, measuring twice, piece cutting once. It's easy to correct an error on paper, wood, and it is another story. All the joints described should be reinforced with brads, white glue. While making drawer, be sure to fit opening design width with adequate clearance around them. Alright, 4 ways to make a miter joint. The miter joints are either the picture frame with the larger jobs, such as bookcases. Minor angles of 45 degrees must be kept to trim them accurately. They must also be strengthened with several ways. Simple method of the glue both surfaces. Clamp the corner in a vise using a padding to prevent the hammers from knocking the joint out with the shape of the nails. Brads home in the opposite direction. Fill the holes. Strong method of saw, flat dub fashion across the outer edge of the corner, both pieces together, and the insert with the key for the vernier through the glue determines. Spline tongue miters are even stronger, avoiding damage edge of the motor, making 45-degree width over the work. Clamp the block and work together in a vise. Cut with the groove of the block guide. Cut the tongue with a stiff plywood, and then dowel effective butt holes and need carefully drilling. Locate exactly taping brads. Dowel positions, miter face, cut the brads, drill both sets of the holes in right angles, miter holes near the inner work of the face, allow with a reasonable length of the dowel necessary over the making of accurate miter joints with well constructed miter box and saw. 5 ways to X and crisscross joints, 5 ways to make them. Simplest X joint is plain overlap, however together plot and glue and screws and greatest strength that also molted clinch, nail, glue, and dowel, glue, nailed cross lap. Overlap easier, most useful to various joints the same way over the half joint. Whatever's made of flat edge of the egg created construction is same. Give it a clamp. A piece together firmly trim the joint with a glue to throw a dry reduced depth. The cutout rail can be made with a projector over another. We'll cut the tape there. Page 394.